Hello folks, so I'm back here in the Walnut Tree Hotel. I'm going to treat myself to a meal again while I uh, do another video, touching on another aspect of the same subject that I usually cover for ye, my listeners, if that's what I can call ye, my followers and my detractors, whoever cares to watch my videos. And I had been asking around for suggestions, and here's one suggestion from a gentleman called Ryan. He is, I'm 90% sure he's from the United States, and he's been living in Ireland for maybe, I guess, 2 or 3 years now. He also creates content on YouTube and such places. And what he said to me in this conversation in one of the posts was, what about something that addresses the following? Many Gaelic learners from the north of Ireland aspire to learn native Donegal Gaelic. Many of these speakers achieve basic fluency, but very few are able to replicate the sounds of native speakers in Donegal. What are some common pitfalls northern learners fall for when learning Donegal Gaelic? What are some important or defining Donegal sounds that often fly under the radar of learners? I think many of your followers, myself included, would find this useful. Thanks for responding to my comment, and thanks for continuing to contribute here on YouTube. That's from Ryan. Okay, what was I going to say there? Something crossed my mind as I was reading that. Okay, I had something in my mind, but anyway, let me just start off with this. I'm going to be speaking kind of off the top of my head here. This thing about Ulster speakers and Connaught speakers and Munster speakers, I think people make more of a differentiation between them than there actually is, because, as it turns out, I think he's referring to, well, certainly what springs to mind with me is people from Belfast. There are many people in Belfast who are interested in Gaelic, interested in learning it, in studying it, and there are many people in Belfast who say they speak fluent Gaelic, that they are native Gaelic speakers, and that. There are some parts of that I would not agree with. A bit like Dublin. Now with Dublin, generally, logically, naturally, geographically, people in the area around Belfast and anywhere in Ulster, the obvious choice is to learn Ulster Gaelic, which is geographically the closest to them as well as everything else, and the best, well, the only place where real native speakers are still to be found speaking that dialect is Donegal. But it's no big deal. The same situation seems to occur in Dublin. There are many people interested in learning and speaking and studying and teaching Gaelic in Dublin and believe that they are very good speakers and all this, and that they're native speakers and that they were grown up listening and speaking it and all this. And of course everybody's different, and they're probably, a lot of the people who say this is probably true, and others not so true, whether they know it or not, or whether they believe it or not, or whether they're aware of it or not. How's your English, Matilda?
¿Cómo?
Do you speak English?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So thank you very much. We're going to get this started here with my hostess for the evening, Matilda.
Hi.
Thank you, Matilda. So what was I saying? Anyway, cheers. A local beer, Dorada. So as I said, the same thing with Dublin. Oh, what have we got here?
Aquí tenemos papa escarchada con puré de coliflor y mojo de aceitunas negras.
¡Qué delicia! Como el otro día. Bien, gracias mi niño. So I'm going to get started on this. I'll just try to finish my sentence there. Yeah, many people in the Gaelic kind of Gaelosphere in Belfast and also in Dublin, the two biggest cities in Ireland, There seems to be a lot of interest, maybe simply because it's a numbers thing. Maybe there's so many people that there's bound to be some who come up and are involved in this kind of situation. And maybe some of them do speak correct, excellent Gaelic in both Dublin and Belfast. But I've been around for quite a few years, and I've been listening to people, especially on radio, but people I would meet on television and my few visits to areas around there. And I have yet to meet a person born and reared in, now this is going to upset maybe what's the name of these people, for example, there's the hip-hop band, Knee Jerk, and other people who are kind of fashionable now in Belfast as well as in Dublin. So anyway, I'm just going to give my experience, what I know. I've never met a person born and reared in Dublin or born and reared in Belfast who speaks correct Gaelic to my ears. Maybe I'm very critical. I don't believe I am, just that they don't speak correctly. Except for two instances. There is one gentleman from Belfast who speaks excellent Gaelic, pronounced everything perfectly. His name is Ronan O'Donnell MacDonald. I'm not 100% sure. Sorry, Ronan, if you're watching this and I've forgotten your surname, which I should know 100 times over. He speaks everything. He pronounces Gaelic correctly, speaks it very well, because he's a student of mine. Okay? And there's also a lady in Dublin, Aisling, and she pronounces everything perfectly correctly. It almost sounds strange to hear a Dublin person, because it's the first one I've ever met in my life who speaks Gaelic with all the correct sounds. She's my student. Nothing else could be the situation, I guess. But apart from those two, it's very rare. Now, even the top figures, like, for example, speaking of, let's try and keep this on the Ulster area. That's what we're talking about, the north of Ireland. Is that what Brian said? So there are some big figures in the Gaelo sphere as regards Ulster Gaelic, and many of them are from Belfast. One of them, to my mind, is a man called Albert Fry. Pretty sure it's Albert Fry, the singer, brilliant singer with a brilliant voice, but he just can't quite pronounce, or just quite doesn't pronounce. Of course he can. Everybody can pronounce every human sound, pretty much, unless they have a certain impairment. Therefore, 99%, more than 99% of people can pronounce anything if they put their mind to it and figure out how to learn it and do it right. Albert Fry sings all these amazing songs, has been doing for many years. And the first time I heard him on the radio, I think on Gaeldom Radio, which I often listen to and have been doing so for years, I know something wrong there. The same thing with the hip-hop people, you know, they claim they're excellent Gaelic speakers and all that, and they just don't pronounce the words right. I don't know what it is. I was watching a little interview by Albert Fry there just today, and he keeps slipping up at the same things. And Ryan, what are the pitfalls that catch them out? The same as everywhere. The same group of sounds that should not be difficult. For example, he was talking about his mother and his father in the nominative case, and he kept saying Mawahir, August Mahir, Mawahir, August. He was pronouncing the genitive case pronunciation for those words, as does 99% of people from these cities, and probably from all over Ireland. And the usual, so that's your slender R, they keep messing up. Speaking of which, even the best content creators on social media nowadays, of all like some people represent certain dialects, other people represent Gaelic in general, as I do. I tend to, or try to, but maybe I focus a little bit sometimes on my own local Mayo dialect, but I tend to try to cover all dialects. But the people who even focus in on Ulster Gaelic, I don't know, I haven't seen any who pronounces everything correctly on social media. The thing is, as I often say to people, the people who speak, I was speaking about Ulster Gaelic in this conversation, I don't know when it was or I forget with whom. The best speakers of Ulster Gaelic are not on social media, because they're too busy farming and fishing. You meet so many, or I have met so many Donegal farmers and fishermen who are excellent speakers of Gaelic, but they don't seem to be on any public platforms. You don't hear them much. You hear them on Gaelic radio now and again if there's a crisis, maybe with a fishing port, or maybe something happening with cattle. There might be some new bovine disease or who knows what. That's when you hear them, and it's just music to your ears. The Gaelic is so beautiful, just like the old people used to speak, and they may not be that old, but because they're working in fishing and farming, they meet they meet many other Gaelic speakers. That's my theory. I don't know why it is. Why aren't they on social media? Why is there a vacuum on social media for these people supposedly teaching the language who don't pronounce the sound right? So for me, that's a big problem. The teachers don't know, and therefore they pass on these wrong mistakes. But as I was saying, the main problem with the speakers in, for example, Ulster Gaelic, the learners is the same as all over. The slender R, the broad lanide at sea, they are by far the biggest ones, and then all the others. It's probably the same proportions in the learners of all different varieties and dialects. Probably, I'm not 100% sure, but that's been my experience. Anyway, here comes Matilda with some beautiful dishes. Oh, look at that. Wow, that's called asparagus. Excellent. And some nice tomatoes there. And what's this white stuff called again?
This one is the buey corazón.
The tomato. But what's the white stuff?
It's a pickled one on the oven and fermented.
¿Y lo blanco?
Lo blanco es espuma de albahaca. Basil.
Qué bien. Basil mousse. Excellent. So now, just in case anybody thought it might be cheese, I got it right the first time I thought it was cheese, but no. They do excellent vegan food here, and highly recommend it. Muchas gracias, mi niña. Okay, I'm going to get tucked in, and hopefully I made some sense, and I'll add to that. Okay, folks, talk soon.